They share one planter, and last season it was a flowering disaster. This year, they're not messing around. Miracle Grow guarantees results. With rich potting mix that uses ingredients fresh from the forest, and plant food that adds vital nutrition, so you have 3 times the blooms. They're fast in their success. Miracle franchise the beauty. One powerful guarantee.
You just signed that first
I'm
one
so
there?
sorry. I don't feel comfortable signing that.
I don't get the math here.
Was this the same car we talked about?
What's this dealer preparation fee?
I'm so sorry. This just is not.
What we talked about.
Get the car without the car salesman. Carvana, the new way to buy a car.
Wait, you got just what I need. It's the feeling of done and done. It's so much fun. Easy as a click, and done comes quick. It can be crazy. Done, baby. Get a deal done. A fancy place fun. Just kick back, relax, wait, baby, get done. You know the feeling. Feeling of done and done. It's so much.
Bring home a feeling at Medicare.com. If you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis or psoriatic arthritis, little things can be a big deal. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats differently. For psoriasis, 75% clearer skin is achievable with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of plaques. And for psoriatic arthritis, Otezla is proven to reduce joint swelling, tenderness, and pain. And the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. Otezla may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Tell your doctor if these occur. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Other side effects include upper respiratory tract infection and headache. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Otezla, show more of you.
The Wall Street Journal is breaking some news tonight about the head of the EPA, Scott Pruitt. The reporting over the past few days has been that Pruitt last year rented an apartment owned by the wife of an energy lobbyist. Scott Pruitt paid way below market rate to stay in that apartment, just $50 a night. And he only had to pay for the The Wall Street Journal reports late tonight that the White House is conducting a review of Pruitt's activities. Quote, the purpose of the inquiry is to dig a little deeper, one White House official told the Wall Street Journal, indicating that the White House isn't satisfied with a statement from the EPA last week that the $50 a night lease agreement didn't violate federal ethics. Quote, while there is no sign yet that Mr. Pruitt's job is in jeopardy, another White House official said that few people are coming to Mr. Pruitt's defense. So the White House tonight is making it known that they are not pleased with these reports about Scott Pruitt's housing situation and making it clear that he has few supporters in the West Wing. This news is breaking at a time when a handful of Trump cabinet officials are facing ethics scandals of their own. Before he was fired, VA Secretary David Shulkin was the subject of a scathing Inspector General report admonishing him for sightseeing on what was ostensibly a work trip to Europe and for making sure the VA paid for his wife's travel as well. Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke's travel expenses are right now under investigation by the Inspector General of the Interior Department. The Office of Special Counsel, not Robert Mueller, but the actual agency, is investigating a potential Hatch Act violation by Zinke for a speech he gave to a hockey team owned by one of his former campaign donors. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin is under public scrutiny for costing taxpayers nearly $1 million for taking military planes on trips across the country. It cost taxpayers $33,000 for Mnuchin and his wife to travel to Kentucky last year. Then there's the $31,000 dining room set that Candy Carson allegedly told Housing and Urban Development officials to order for her husband, Secretary Ben Carson. The Inspector General of HUD is now reviewing the involvement of Ben Carson's family at the agency. Ben Carson's not the only cabinet official whose family seems unusually involved in his work. The Washington Post last month reported that CIA Director Mike Pompeo's wife had been working at the CIA as a volunteer and even has her own office space at CIA headquarters. New York Magazine took on the epic task of putting together an omnibus timeline of, quote, official corruption, from small-time graft and brazen influence peddling to full-blown raids on the federal treasury throughout the Trump administration. But it really does start from the top. Journalist and Trumpoligist David K. Johnston writes in New York Magazine today that, quote, more than at any time in history, the President of the United States is actively using the power and prestige of his office to line his own pockets, landing loans for his businesses, steering wealthy buyers to his condos, and securing cheap foreign labor for his resorts, preserving federal subsidies for his housing projects, easing regulations on his golf courses, licensing his name to overseas projects, even peddling coffee mugs and shot glasses bearing the presidential seal. For Trump, whose business revolves around the marketability of his name, there has proved to be no public policy too big and no private opportunity too crass to exploit for personal profit. And joining us now is David K. Johnston, author of The Making of Donald Trump and founder of DCReport.org. David, great to have you with us.
Glad to be here.
So let's just run through some of the greatest hits or lowlights of the Trump administration, spreading the wealth around both not only Donald Trump's family, but it really does seem that that has translated down to his cabinet.
Well, Joy, one of the things striking about the cabinet is what you went to in your intro. All of the wives and their involvement in the case of EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, the wife of a lobbyist. I seem to recall Sebastian Gorka telling us that the alpha males are back in and the era of the pajama boy is over. And apparently one of the fundamental defining features of the alpha males is if something happens on their watch, talk to my wife, she did it.
Yeah.
They won't take responsibility for their own actions. They want to blame their wives.
I do believe that Sebastian Gorka's wife might be working in the administration, too. It is an interesting feature. Let's go back to Donald Trump. Ivanka Trump, who's been very much involved in his businesses, going all the way back. She's featured in The Apprentice, even. She now is this unpaid advisor, but she is also still tangentially involved, or at least it ethically looks weird. She's traveling to China. She gets all of these patents approved that the Chinese normally don't approve. How much is she still doing business while supposedly doing America's business?
Well, nothing's changed about her business. The business is now in one of these Trumpian Kushner eyes wide open blind trusts, and the trustees are two of the Kushners, who, by the way, tell her, they say, about the finances. And she continues to wear clothes that make her a walking billboard for her businesses. You'll recall she specifically promoted her $10,000 bracelet and $138 dress, which sold out immediately. There are no boundaries to these people. They do not see any difference between their own personal profit and presidential duties. And in the case of Ivanka Trump, I think this illustrates a second problem. She is not an employee of the federal government. She actually has no authority. The same thing applies to the other wives, like Mrs. Pompeo. Susan Pompeo apparently has been doing all sorts of things involving her husband in his national security position, and she's not an employee. There's a reason we want people who are our employees to be making these actions on our behalf, so that we know that they're also subject to ethics rules, to discipline, and not just to, if they really do something grossly improper, the risk that they might get prosecuted.
And you have now the White House making it very well known that they want to look into Scott Pruitt's apartment and living situation. But what about the idea that his landlord's clients, essentially, are now having their products peddled in Morocco by Scott Pruitt?
Well, and there's another element to that $40,000 trip to Morocco to promote something outside of the portfolio of the EPA administrator. Let's keep in mind that the Qataris turned down the Kushners on a loan. The U.S. government, through Donald Trump, then turned on the Qatari government, where we have our very, very important Middle East base. And what business are the Qataris principally in? Exporting LNG. This could be seen as an action on behalf of this American competitor against the Qataris, and part of the attack on the Qataris by this administration.
And LNG stands for?
Liquefied natural gas.
It all comes together.
Compress gas down, to compress it down to 1/6 of its normal size,
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of Japan is heated, much of Europe, good parts of Europe, through liquefied natural gas, and we're about to get into that business. By the way, it's astonishing the White House says we're conducting a review. What do you need to know about $50 a night, only on the nights you're there, and a free apartment for your daughter who's there all the time, and corruption? I mean, is any other president, Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, they would have said, you're fired.
Yeah, it makes Teapot Dome look like a walk in the park. David K. Johnston, author of The Making of Donald Trump and founder of DCReport.org. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
As a control enthusiast, I'm all business when I travel. Even when I travel for leisure. So I go national, where I can choose any available upgrade in the aisle without starting any conversations or paying any upcharges. What can I say? Control suits me. Go national. Go like a pro.
Hi, this is Jonathan.
I'm Karen. I'm Lisa.
Looking for a real relationship?
I'm looking for a woman who's trusting, funny, and kind.
I can't wait to meet somebody who loves dogs as much as I do. Definitely would like to meet someone special. Check out Match right now for free.
Do you have a life insurance policy you no longer need or can't afford? Now you can sell your policy for an immediate payment.
We bought life insurance when our kids were young, to protect their future.
Our youngest just turned 40. We no longer needed the coverage.
That got us to thinking about letting our policy go. So I did some research and called Coventry Direct. I learned that you could sell all or part of a life insurance policy, even a term life policy. Turns out, people have been selling policies like ours for the past 15 years. Who knew? We sold our policy. Now we have money to help with the medical bills.
And to add to our retirement.
If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may be a candidate to sell your